Hi, I'm Joe Sandwright Callender, the author of the Happy Little Garbage Truck picture book and educational system. And we've been talking about goal setting for children and what it seemed to me to be what seemed to be the most direct way of explaining how these processes worked from C.R. Snyder's work on hope and the hope theory in which he says that developing hope within a child is can be seen through goal planning and goal setting because as a child achieves a goal, this really resonates within them to see themselves in a more positive light, and they could see themselves actually obtaining bigger goals, higher goals. And so, in explaining how goals are set and met, I've been using my own journey in creating the Happy Little Garbage Truck picture book. We talked about first having a goal, and mine was to create a workbook, a picture book that would enable a child to connect with the literacy and the social skills that I was attempting to teach. And this one child in my kindergarten class was extremely interested in garbage trucks. So that was my inspiration, creating a book about garbage trucks so that I could teach those concepts. My mother encouraged me to write it myself. And so we worked together in creating the story, which I think is very engaging. And a lot of people have given me positive comments on how it's been very useful and helpful in working with their own child. So, in the steps of next step in goal setting is planning, which are the steps of how do you create something. And I've never written a book before or much yet had one published. So I started looking around for printers and layout artists and artists. And I met two gentlemen, Frank Espinoza, and he referred me to Steve Fershot, who's now my artist. So today, the next part, we talked about oh, doing a survey of children's um, preferences of which illustration they liked, guided us in what type of garbage truck Steve was going to create for the book. So next came the construction, and that involved not only Frank Espinoza, but also my niece, Emily Miller. And she is a graphic artist. She did this really lovely title, which I just fell in love with initially, or from the very start, which looked very whimsical to me. And she, along with Frank, designed the cover work with Steve's wonderful cover picture. So the next step was for Frank to scan each of Steve's beautiful illustrations, which he did on in watercolor in large format, and then delivered them to Steve. And then Steve took each page along with the dialogue that I had created, and I gave him the same template, which I had given to Steve to know what goes on each page. And Frank gave me the information that I had to have an even number of pages, and that had something to do with how books are constructed. So I got all of that to him. He scanned all of the illustrations, laid out the book page by page, and then I emailed that information electronically, of course, to my printer. Now, along the way, oh, and the printer printed the book. And that was basically how the book got constructed. So, but along the way, there were many, many obstacles. And I have to share with you, it was not an easy task. It sounds like from A to B, it was pretty easy, wasn't. I started in 2005 with the idea, and it was in 2015 that I found Frank and Steve, and we started putting this together. The book came out in 2018, so you could see that there was some time in between the actual physical structure of the book and then getting everything lined up, and some of it was costs because there are cost factors involved, of course, and I didn't want this to be a really expensive project, but of the projects that I had been considering starting with because I always wanted to be a children's book author. This book really seemed to be the one that I had prayed about it and thought about it, and The Happy Little Garbage Truck was the one that I knew I needed to make first. Well, there are many peaks and valleys, but in order to get from point A to B, one has to have a strategy, knowing that there are peaks and valleys to keep one going. And when we're working with children, it's not only important to have a plan, but it's also important to let them know that they will have highs and lows. And we have to create strategies to keep us going if we really want to see a goal accomplished. So, in the next talk, we'll talk about what were some of the strategies I used to keep me going over those, well, it was more than 3 years. It was more like, let's see, maybe almost 16 years from the concept to now. And I well, I will share with you some of the strategies in order to keep this conversation within a reasonable length of time because it could go on and on. But basically, that's the planning stage. Next time we talk, we'll talk about the strategies. Until then, thank you so much. Please share, please subscribe. Bye bye.